Hey, 40s and 9s. Ah, that's my favorite stuff. Hey, I'm gonna go in here and get me a malt liquor Slurpee. Run across the street, get me some barbecue potato chips.
Ooh, can I keep the change?
Hell no, fool. That's a $10 food stamp. Better bring back my change. Give me some stupid questions. What's up now, you pretty punk chicks?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up? We got a problem, Toothpick? I said, do we have a problem? Huh?
Oh, we got a problem, partner. Right here.
Here's your problem. Right there. Right there.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Play a little game. Right? I said, do we have a problem? Huh?
Oh, USSR.
Now you better get your stank asses up out of here before I cause a nuclear holocaust up in here, fool.
Let's go, let's go. Oh, come on now.
Fool, it'll be Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Oh, let's go. That's right, boy. You better get on out of here. And don't come back. Huh?
Jay, bring your simple behind on.
Alright, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. I like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, where I learned this truth from. And I like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. And today I just want to go into, the clip I showed from the movie Don't Be a Menace, and for, fair use purposes, I'm using this clip, so Lord willing, this lesson is edifying and straight to the point. I'm going to start in the book of Isaiah chapter 54 and verse 16. It says, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth forth an instrument for his works, and I have created the waster to destroy. And yes, that waster being, the ICBM missiles, because that's what's going to be used to destroy America, because as World War III pretty much is started, it hasn't officially started, but with these current war going on between Russia and the Ukraine, World War III is pretty much started, but the point I want to go into is pretty much those missiles that are going to be used, It's the book of Job, chapter 20 and verse 24, and it says, He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. Yes, that iron weapon and that bow of steel is going into those missiles, because again, this is what's going to be used to destroy America, because America is Babylon the Great, and America has to be destroyed, because Esau Edom, is destroying the earth. He's going to be taken out of power the same way he came into power, by way of violence. And this is pretty much, going into what those missiles are going to do, This is the book of Revelation, chapter 9. I'm going to start at verse 15. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the third part of men. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth, and brimstone, and the heads of the horses. Slag you. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions. Out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. And by these was the third part of men killed, by the fire, and by the smoke, and by brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. their power, Slakia, for their power is in their mouth and their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. And pretty much that's going into, what those ICBM missiles are going to do, because pretty much once those missiles are shot off, those missiles are going to destroy everything. Now when it says they had heads like lions, pretty much once those missiles are launched, they're going to be launched into space, they're going to be launched into the ozone layer, sluggy. They're going to leave, the firmament, the ozone layer. They're going to, adjust to their specific targets, and then they're going to come back down to the earth, on fire, because they're going to be traveling so fast, They're pretty much going to blot out, the sun and the moon, because there's going to be so many of them, 200,000, pretty much 200 million missiles are going to pelt this land, This is the book of Revelation, chapter 6, and verse 12. And I beheld, and when he had power, Slakia. And I beheld, and when he had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. And yes, once those missiles hit America, it's going to pelt this land. This entire land is going to be engulfed in flames, henceforth the lake of fire. There's no such thing as hell, but there's going to be so many of them, pelting this land that it's going to cause the earth to shake, Slakia. Is the book of Revelation, chapter 17, and verse 5. And upon her head, Slakia, and upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And America is Babylon the Great because, as it's stated, it's the mother of harlots and abominations. Because, some pretty sick things are, pushed and promoted here. In America is spiritually known as Sodom and Egypt. Now, we don't need to go into why it's, spiritually called Sodom, but, spiritually Egypt because of the hardcore bondage that the nation of Israel had to suffer in this land, Yeah, the book of Revelation, chapter 16. It's like the book of Revelation, chapter 17 and verse 16. And it says, "And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire." Yes, they're going to burn her by fire by way of the ICBM missiles, because ultimately, all of America's allies are going to turn on her and shoot missiles, The other nations are going to destroy America. again, it's going to be by way of those ICBM missiles, the Waster, the iron missile, the iron weapon, the bow of steel. Because pretty much if you look at, an actual bow and arrow and how it's shot, pretty much it's in the same fashion, except if, of using a bow. These missiles are in silos and are going to be launched from one end of the earth to the other. This is the book of Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. And yes, that burning and fuel of fire is again going into those ICBM missiles that are going to be used to destroy America. America is going to be destroyed, and America has to be destroyed, because if this land isn't taken out, if Esau Edom isn't taken out, then no life will remain, because he's going to destroy everyone and everything and ultimately destroy himself if he's not taken out of power, So pretty much the point again that I wanted to make in this lesson is going into, the instrument that is going to be used during this war, simultaneously, when our Lord Yahushua returns with the angels and the chariots. The chariots are also going to, destroy America, but ultimately, those missiles, those are the instruments that the Lord is going to use to destroy Babylon. So Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Akakodash. I'd like to give double honors unto the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, where I learned this truth from. And I'd like to say peace and salutations unto the hopefully elect. Till the next time I say Shalom.